on national television that they may use executive orders in order to infringe upon our Second Amendment freedoms, their right to bear arms. And I truly believe that they backed off from that. Why? It's because people across this country have stood up. We're not going to take that. And you cannot circumvent the legislative process. There's 20,000 laws and regulations today, I know this in law enforcement, across America that already inhibit, regulate, restrict some form of our weapons. How did that work? And they're trying to blame law-abiding citizens and men and women, young people all across our country who have respect and familiarity and are proficient at the use of their firearms. And they're trying to take and infringe upon our rights. Well, this isn't something, as I started out, we need protection against the federal government because in the name of safety, they're trying to take and steal our liberties. And we've got to stop that. I shall not, as a top law enforcement official in my county, enforce any, quote, law that you think you're going to enact upon the people. And for this constitutional lawyer, he should understand that if you're going to approach the Constitution, that it takes 2/3 of Congress, that it has to be ratified by 2/3 of the states before you can even go there. And so, I have a question for you. Will you stand up against the leaders in our country and say this shall not happen in America? And I swore an oath, as an Army private, as an Army officer, as a police officer, and as a sheriff, to preserve, to protect, and defend the Constitution of the United States of America. And that's against all enemies, foreign and domestic. And I had somebody from the other side of this argument say he was in the military for 20 years just like me, and he says, he swore an oath to obey the Commander-in-Chief. And Sheriff, you have to obey the Commander-in-Chief. And I said, I took an oath even as an Army private, even as an Army officer, to obey the lawful orders of the officers of the Commander. And in troubling times like this, they need to hear a loud and clear voice. And that voice comes from the most important office in the land, which is not the President of the United States. It's not some congressman or governor or sheriff. It's that of a private citizen. That is us. We need to send that strong and clear message to Washington that this shall not stand. In Pinal County, we've got a lot going on in Pinal County. We don't back away. You become a target anytime you stand up in opposition to this president. You stand up against the media elites and all those people who just try to cater to the PC, right? Well, this is where has that gotten us as a nation? And this is where the same people, the ACLU, who end up using our own liberties and freedoms in our Constitution to sue our country, to take prayer out of schools, to take nativity scenes and Christ out of community squares. It's like we've got to stand up. We are the majority, and we are a republic, and that we will not compromise our liberties, our freedoms, especially when the assault is clear against our liberties and freedoms that are guaranteed in the Constitution. There's a sea change happening, I believe, across this country, and we're waking up, and we've got to let our neighbors, our friends, our families understand that what's going on here in our country, we are at, and everybody keeps saying this is the most important election. We just had an election that has serious, devastating consequences. And we're going into uncharted ours. And this is the essence. It's just not about freedoms, about our Second Amendment rights to bear arms and to protect ourselves, even against the overbearing power and influence against a tyrannical government, but our economy and individual liberties and freedoms of a free market. That we understand that the spirit of the individual, not the government, that power and that all these good things don't come from the government, they come from initiative. That's your hard work, your drive, your efforts, your expression of that in our society. In America, the pursuit of happiness, the American dream isn't you just don't wake up one day and get citizenship. You just don't wake up one day and get a job and get benefits. You have to earn it in America. That's what our country's about. Unless we stand up and tell people the proud history of our country, because we've become a military power, an economic power, a beacon of hope for liberties and freedoms based in the individual, given by the Almighty, that we'll go the same road as these countries, these failed states throughout history, and other countries, and that their rush in order to save what they think they have, they think you need to put more power and authority in the hands of the government. And that's the wrong direction. And I'm here to stand with you to say that's not the course for our future. We've got to turn back to what's worked for us, and that's the power of the individual. That power needs to be returned from the federal government to the people. In law enforcement, you don't see many guys wearing suits around here, right? They're either congressmen or lawyers. This is a good lawyer. And those who are lawyers in the audience, no personal attack on you. Cops particularly like prosecutors because they're the ones who work in partnership with us. If a crime is committed against you or a family member, the attorney that stands up and to defend those victims is a prosecutor. Babeu has been a top prosecutor for all the felonies for murderers, gang members, against the drug cartels, and Mexico has had death threats against him. While he worked up here in Maricopa County, he's lived with his wife Tiffany and his family in Pinal County, and he heeded the call to stand up to run in Pinal County for county attorney, and he's the first Republican in the history since 1875 to be elected as Pinal County attorney. It's nice when you're in a fight that you know whose back is up against yours, protecting you from behind. And we have that guy here in Lando Voiles. And this young prosecutor, he's in his young 40s. Somebody asked him, are you like 32? He's like 42. Lando is standing up with me in Pinal County in one unified stand to say, law and order in Pinal County, we're going to stand up against this president when he's wrong. Not because he's from the other party, but no one, Republican, Democrat, I don't care what party or affiliation you're from, you shall not stand against the people.